beautiful weirdo, Charlotte here, and welcome back to another one of my 31 days of Halloween. And today it's one of my 100 years of horror. It's the 1950s and we are doing the extremely wonderfully camp and B-movie-ish Wasp Woman. It's going to be very over the top and very crude, which was how the makeup was in the film. So I'm going to have some fun with this one today. It's not meant to look perfect, so if you're a bit worried about your makeup skills, this is one to do. I'm going to start by showing you how I made the prosthetic piece before I put it on, because there's a bit of prep to do. And then I will go straight into the application. So don't forget, as always, Edward, my misshapen bear, is hidden somewhere in the shot in a Halloween costume. So don't forget to comment down below and say where you see Edward and what he's wearing. If you haven't already subscribed, why not? It's free and it means that you get notified every time I put a tutorial up. So hit the red subscribe button below now, right now, right now. And right, without much further ado, here is how I made the prosthetic piece. So first you need 2 plastic domes. I'm so sorry, I can't actually remember where I bought these, but yeah, if you just Google plastic domes, you should find something, or look around your supermarket. I just wanted to tint them because, let's face it, you're a wasp woman. So I just watered down some acrylic paint and just kind of swirled that around in there. It doesn't adhere fully to the plastic, but that doesn't matter, you don't want it to look perfect. And then using a rather ropey looking face cast, please excuse my ropey looking face cast, I started to build the prosthetic. If you don't have a face cast, you can build it on one of those polystyrene heads, as long as you cover it very tightly with cling film. You could even do it flat, but that's not ideal because it won't adhere to your face as easily. Anyway, I'm just building up the prosthetic with some folded over cotton pads, just starting with the chin piece. So I folded over 2 into half moon shapes and joined them in the middle with some latex. And then I'm just creating another half moon shape and sticking that onto the bottom to create that chin piece. The reason I'm doing the prosthetic in 2 pieces is so that the face can still move, because if you do it all as one, then it's more like a mask and then it's hard for it to move. And now basically just adhering that to the face cast just so that I can work on it easier, and then just soaking the cotton wool with the latex and smoothing that down with a spatula and with my fingertips. And I'm filming this on boob cam. I have actually got my camera tucked into my bra because that was the easiest way to film. Now just taking some hot glue just to adhere those domes onto the face cast just so I can work on them. You don't want to put too much hot glue on because obviously you don't want them to stick forever just while you work on the prosthetic. And then using those half moons again, I'm just building up underneath the eye. Yep, boob cam fail. I wasn't actually recording what I was meant to be doing. Naughty boob cam. And yeah, so just adhering the cotton wool pads to the face cast with some latex, doing the same above those domes, and then using sort of normal fluffy cotton, not the actual pads, you know, the fluffy loose cotton, so to speak, to start sculpting a nose. Now you've seen me do stuff like this loads of times before. You literally just want to put the piece on the nose and then start kind of sculpting a bulbous nose with lots of latex, smoothing with your fingers and smoothing with a palette knife or just a rounded dinner knife. Smooth that down until you get the shape that you desire, and then build up the bridge of the nose between those bulbous eye things. You can even pour some latex on to speed up the process. What you're basically wanting to do is to create the prosthetic piece around the bulbous eyes so that when you take the piece off, the bulbous eyes will be held in place. Obviously use a reference picture of the Wasp Woman. It's a B movie, so it's a very camp, very crude looking makeup. So just bear that in mind. You don't want it to look too perfect. Now just building up around the sides of those domes with more half moons of cotton wool and lots of latex. Just take your time with this and sculpt. You've got a while before the latex dries, so you've got plenty of time to sculpt the shape that you desire. Don't forget to go down off the edges of the cotton wool as well and onto the cast, so that you have some nice fine edges to stick the piece to your face. Now once that's dried, I left mine to dry overnight. I'm just taking some acrylic paint in black, and I've mixed that in with some Prosaide to give it a little bit of flexibility. You can use PVA as well, and I'm just dabbing that onto the cast and ensuring that the whole piece is covered with that black paint. This is just a base tone. I will be putting more colours on once the piece is on the face. And there we go. Right, now you have your piece and the paint is dry. You need to find an edge, ease it up with your fingertips, and then start applying that baby powder and lifting those latex edges. You need the powder to stop the latex sticking to itself. And do the same with the top piece and the bottom piece. You will find that it kind of starts to look like a powdered chocolate donut at this point, but don't worry because we will be painting back over it. And just taking some black grease paint mixed with some brown grease paint and blocking out any areas that will show through the prosthetic. So in this case, my mouth and my eyes. Oh, and you may have noticed as well, I've cut some holes with a craft knife into the tops of those domes just to help me see better, because it wasn't quite as see-through as I would have liked. Anyway, you just saw me powdering that grease paint so that it doesn't shift around, and then I'm just taking some Prosaide, putting it over my chin and mouth, and also putting it inside the chin piece, letting that dry so it goes tacky, and then sticking that chin piece on. And then just taking some latex and cotton wool just to blend that piece into the face and ensure that it's nicely stuck on, although the Prosaide will hold it in place very, very well. So just stick those cotton wool pieces all the way round, and then just smooth loads of latex onto them to smooth them into the skin and onto the prosthetic so that they all join up. Don't forget underneath the chin too. Oh, you may also notice that I've created some little fangs on the chin piece, which I didn't show you when making the prosthetic. They were just made with some cotton wool and latex, and I just kind of sculpted that with my fingers and stuck them on. Now taking the top piece, and the areas you just saw me pointing to are the contact points where it contacts with your face, so that's where you want to put your glue. And also on the points of your face where it will be sitting, so in this case the nose and the brow area. Let that glue go tacky, and then just glue that piece in place. Then you'll want to go around those edges with a little bit more Prosaide just to make sure that they're stuck down properly, or the loose edges. And then you repeat the latex and cotton wool steps that you did with the chin piece. So just sticking that cotton wool on with some latex, and then smoothing more latex on top with a spatula and your fingertips just to smooth that piece into the skin. It doesn't matter if it's a bit lumpy because you're a wasp woman, so you're not going to be all smooth and pretty and nice. And you can use a hairdryer to speed up the drying process. Now I'm just taking some Pax paints, which is basically acrylic mixed with Prosaide, like you saw me painting the prosthetic with earlier. Now you don't want to use this directly on your skin because acrylic isn't skin safe, but you can use it over anywhere where you've got the latex and the cotton wool, and just get rid of that powdery appearance too. And I just added some black dots on the wasp eyes just to make them look a bit more insect-like. And then I'm going in with some black grease paint to fill in the face, and using a brush just to get into those smaller areas. Now just covering those antennae. Incidentally, the antennae are made out of bent wire, which I just adhered to the nose piece with some latex and cotton wool. And then I'm just taking some crepe hair and kind of winding it around those wire pieces and sticking it in place with some latex, which I'm speed drying with a hairdryer. It's actually probably better to make these antennae when the piece is off your face, as in not on your face, not as in drunk. But I was kind of running out of time because I was going to a wedding. You can see my wedding outfit behind me. So yeah, I kind of ran out of time, so I had to do it on my face rather than creating the piece on the cast. But it all turned out okay in the end. paint over the dried latex and then just snip away any excess and style those little antennae. You can also twizzle a little bit of latex into the ends to make them a bit finer. Now I'm just taking some brown grease paint and just kind of mixing that in with some white and using a textured sponge just to create a little bit of texture in the piece and break up that flat solid black base. You can create a textured sponge by just taking a latex wedge sponge and either pulling or cutting little holes out of it, like little snippets out of it. And then just using a brush for some detail around the nose, around the eyes, around the chin, and then putting a black wig on and attaching that in and putting it in a ponytail. And then just pinning up any loose edges, painting any areas that will show underneath the costume, and there we go. So this is the finished look. As predicted, it's very camp, very crude, very B-movie, very funny, quite comical. If you don't like anything too scary and you'd rather go for something a bit silly, then this is the look for you. And also being dark colours, it hides a multitude of sins. Yeah, so I think it's probably the worst, best makeup job I've ever done. If that makes any sense at all, probably not. Anyway, if you like this dreadful B-movie crude look, please give it a massive thumbs up because it helps me lots. Please don't forget to comment down below if you see Edward and what costume he's wearing today. This is. But I'm doing it anyway. And don't forget to join me tomorrow for another tutorial. Subscribe if you haven't already and you'll get notified when it gets put up. And yeah, I will see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Love you loads. Bye bye. Big Wasp Woman kiss coming your way.